Hi, and welcome back to This Week in Voice, Season 7, Episode 9. My name is Bradley Metrock. I'm CEO of Project Voice. I'm not wearing my Titans hat. The streak is broken. The Titans won 5 games in a row and then lost. So it's time for a new streak. And yeah, I'm a little unshaven for those watching on YouTube. I'm taking my son camping this week, but that's what you get. We've got a great panel for the show today and some really interesting stories as well. So we're excited to get on into it. Gonen, I'm going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Onvego, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Right.
Tell us
everything. Okay. As quick ways of introduction, I'm the CRO at Onvego, and conversational AI company. Originally from Israel, came here for one project about 35 years ago and stayed. Couple of words about myself. This is my 5th startups right now, and I've been working in very advanced IoT and related AI solutions over the past few years. And Onvego is definitely the one of the most advanced companies I've been working with. The core competency of Onvego, which was started in 2017, have to do with taking conversational AI to realms which typically are not common, and primarily it's the fact that the AI is disconnected from the cloud. So a lot of the things that we do actually relate to, let's say, offline IoT. We can activate drones offline and do all kind of retail solutions offline. And at the same time, we are involved right now in major launch of our Smart Receptionist product, which has to do with the telco and the UCaaS industry, introducing the conversational AI to basically replace what is the traditional IVRs, press 1 for this, 2 for that, with conversational AIs. The research and development that the company did for quite a few years, as I said, concentrated on getting to very high accuracy. And right now we have achieved in a few of the projects about 99 plus of accuracy, which is actually very hard to do. And there's different techniques and different ways of applying certain modules that we were able to do and build the neural networks in a way that allows us actually to get extremely high accuracy. Type of projects we have done are in the military sector, in the commercial sector. We have contracts with the DoD, with other defense departments. And in the realm of, we've done projects for GM, for GE, and with other well-known names that are in the commercial world. And I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
a pleasure to have you on the show. Interesting company. You outlined a lot of it there. Thanks for being part of it with us. Colleen, I'm going to go to you next. And I don't know if it's my Southern heritage or what my problem is, but I can never, ever pronounce the name of your company correctly. Tell us who you are.
Okay.
Tell us, yeah, and set the record straight. Tell me the name.
It's CZM Son. So here's the trick. Everybody, you can use the same trick. Just write the letters C, Z, and M. And just say the names of them. CZM, all together, CZM. Then you have the name of the company, CZM Son.
Perfect. Thank you for being here. Tell us who y'all are and what you do.
Okay, so about 10 years ago, I went to a conference in the United States, the first sonic branding conference. It was actually called Audio Branding at the time. And I didn't know what was at the conference or what was going to be there. And everybody seemed tremendously excited, speaking English in every accent imaginable. not American accents though. And I was, what are these people talking about? Why are they so excited? And they started presenting these ideas of musically infused brands. So a bank would walk in, and when you walked into the ATM section, the music would change. You would know that you were in that bank. The ATM would have some reflection of the same sound. The sound in the bank, the commercials would all be aligned. And the same with train systems, the same with cities. And I thought that was the biggest idea I had ever heard in branding. I thought it was bigger than anything. And there was a lot of real tactical marketing going on at the time, QR codes and stuff. And I thought, I'm going to put aside my whole huge career and do this. And so I really felt that the professionalism that was being shown from mostly Europeans and some Brazilians was extremely high. And the concept was so spot on, because all it was taking what branding agencies already do, defining a brand with colors and typefaces and logos, and doing it in sound and music. So I thought everybody else in the whole wide world would say, wow, let's just start doing this. That is not how it happened. It actually takes quite a while to sell something that doesn't have a budget, doesn't have a deadline, and that nobody's really heard about in your country. But anyway, we opened Sixième Son about a decade ago in the US and Canada. And since then, we have slowly but surely built a real portfolio of very solid brands in financial services and fintech, in pharma, but also, you know, the lighter sectors like we have Hostess and Sparkling Ice. So we cover a range. We create sonic logos with the same intensity as somebody creating a visual logo. And we also create sonic ecosystems for the entire brand. So wherever you hear the brand, it sounds like the brand. In the world of voice, we created the sound, some sound for the Open Voice Network, both music, and we chose a voice for their voice app, and which was a foreign, it was somebody who wasn't from the United States, because that was one of the things that we were trying to do, is say, no, we're global, but the person speaks English. And we also created something for women in voice, a podcast dressing kit. And I have joined the voice community because they're the only people who really understand all the time that sound really matters. So
yeah, no, that's great. And it's interesting to see how everything's sort of interrelated, you know, and the work that you're doing is pretty profound. It can be hard to quantify sometimes, but boy, are we glad you're here. It's Sixième Son. I got it. Colleen, thank you for joining.
You did it. That's awesome.
The likelihood of me getting that wrong now is pretty low. Still non-zero, but pretty low. Charlie, great to have you on the show as well. Take a moment, tell us who you are, tell us about Say It Now.
So I'm Charlie Cadbury. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders here at Say It Now. Now, we are an advertising technology business. We are on a mission, which is to make it possible to engage with every advertising message using your voice. In 2019, we won the Alexa Cup. In 2020, we started running audio ad campaigns. These we call actionable audio ad campaigns. And these are ads that you hear on the radio and the slots you expect to hear a radio ad, but we ask you to talk back to them using your smart speaker. So for example, you're listening to the radio and the ads come on and they say, tonight is pizza night. I'd love to give you 50% off your pizza tonight. All you need to do is say, Alexa, open Pizza Hut delivery. You then say, Alexa, open Pizza Hut delivery. She says, can I send you a coupon to your phone? You say yes. That coupon arrives at your phone and you continue listening to the radio. And so what we're doing for audio advertisers is we then deliver them a dashboard so we can tell you exactly what publisher played the audio ad, when they got that engagement, and then how many people then downloaded that coupon. So they can start to see audio campaigns in the same way as they see other digital display campaigns. Now, we then in 2021 purchased a Canadian technology platform to accelerate our growth. We've now been chosen as WPP's voice partner co-founder. So any audio campaigns that you hear asking you to talk back to them, that's likely to be us. And we're just launching our CTV proposition with Tremor right now.
That's a lot. And you're making me hungry in there. Thanks for that.
We're launching a Domino's campaign today as well. So, you know, that sector's on the march.
Yeah, no, I you know, advertising's been one of those things that it's like a lot of aspects of conversational AI. There's kind of there's been a hurry up and wait sort of thing going on for the last few years, but now, you know, there's a lot of reason, whether it's purchasing patterns, you know, conversational commerce, the growth there, a lot of cracks opening up where, you know, there might be green shoots to take advantage of. Thank you for being part of the show.
It's great to be here.
So with that, we're going to get to the news. And story number one is from voicebot.ai. And I'm going to read this headline. TV AI startup Disruptel acquired by Samba TV. So here we are again, another acquisition. Adam Shire was part of this. The article talks about his involvement. Colleen, I'm going to start with you. You know, interesting story, interesting company on both sides of the transaction. What, if anything, stood out to you with this?
Oh, I lost your voice a little bit there, but I'll talk anyway. So I think that the big part of the story is that they're talking about an interesting disruption, which is that you will be able to talk to your television and say, hey, I like that dress. How can I buy it? Or something like that, which I think is going to be an impulse shopper's dream, and probably also will cause a lot of family arguments. And I think that the person who would be best to talk about this is Charles, because he's already got the experience of interaction with voice and shopping.
Oh yeah, no, I'm giving everybody a chance to talk about every story. You know, yeah, and you know, with the work that y'all do, I think that the growth of the TV, you know, is pretty noteworthy, because it's been a couple of, at least 3 or 4 years now, where Comcast has invested a lot of money in putting a voice assistant, you know, conversational AI into finding shows, and it's really transformed that experience. And what it does is it changes expectations on the user side, to where now you could come in, you know, and think about the sonic identity of what's going on, and you can start to build off of that. So I think it's exciting from your standpoint. But Charlie, I will go to you next, and then go in. I'm going to end with you on this. Same question for you. You know, interesting story, interesting company. Samba's a big company on the TV side. What stands out to you?
So this is awesome. So just to a bit of context, what this technology does is it kind of reads what you're seeing, and then kind of semantically understands what's going on. And then at the moment, if you pause the TV, it will show you, it can tell you a little bit more about what's going on there, and serve you ads. But what this is allowing is for you to then talk to the TV and ask, but you know, what is that person wearing, for example, and deliver other advertising opportunities. Now, this stinks of a Amazon acquisition in the very near future. So a couple of weeks ago, I was in New York at Amazon's Unboxed conference, and they are all over media. So obviously they've got Prime, they've got Freevee, which is their new ad-supported bundle, and they're buying rights from everything. They announced a $1 billion rights purchase of Thursday Night Football on an 11-year deal. I mean, they're quite serious here. They were also talking about the technology that they're layering in to this content that they own, right? And so they were featuring a technology they had just bought, which allows you to do product placement into existing TV. So a film or kind of a TV series that had already been shot, you would be able to place a mobile phone or place a particular product in the kitchen, and giving those as new advertising opportunities. And Amazon are really keen on this, because that locks you into buying their media, which is obviously very high margin for them. And so, you know, this is exactly the kind of thing that Amazon will be wanting to add into their Amazon advertising ecosystem, which is hugely on the march. They went from $15 billion to $30 billion between 2019 and 2021. They're very serious about all of this, and it plays squarely into that ecosystem. So I am not a betting man, but if I was, I'd say that that's the path that these guys are on.
Yeah, no, complete agreement. It opens up a number of interesting doors. And Gonin, I'm going to ask you the same question. It's a pretty straightforward story. Acquisition, yet another one in the space. Interesting companies on both sides of it. What stood out to you?
I'm looking at this from the consumer side. Actually, it's quite cool. The fact that you can interact the same way that Charles is interacting with the smart speakers. You can interact with the TV, and many times I ask myself the questions that they actually say, what are those shoes, or certain item, maybe certain important information that I'm really curious about. And what I would do, I'm thinking about myself and watching this show is, oh, I think I know that this actor actually was in this show. So I'll go on my phone. I'm missing now what's going on the TV, and I'm trying to search for the information, because we are multitasking at the same time, but I cannot stop what's going on the TV. So this is really cool, because it's almost, the information at the tip of your hands, and extremely interactive. I like it. That's all I can say.
I think the big challenge here is kind of this behavior change. They're putting this technology or this kind of feature within shows is great, but then getting the people to understand that they can and they should and they might want to ask these questions, there's a big step up there. So until you've got the people in the shows or some kind of education around all this, I think it's going to be challenging to get adoption.
But it's like you were talking before on the Comcast remote. Once I saw it and I got it, I couldn't stop using it. It's like the moment it triggers, it's, man, that's all I'm going to use. And at one point, I can tell you my own experience with using the Comcast remote. I had no idea what channels I had. I was just asking, just say what you want, and you get it. And as an experience, it transcends. It's really a disruptor in a lot of ways.
I'm worried about my children finding out and them talking to the TV over everything we're trying to watch. So I think that could become a bit annoying.
It opens up all sorts of doors, and if I'm able to ask, TV is kind of for a lot of people, TV is I wouldn't go so far as to call it a burden, but it requires work. You have to know what channels you have and what type of stuff shows up on them and how to work your DVR and all of that. And if you can just reduce that complexity down to just speaking to your remote, then all of a sudden you got tons of upsell opportunities. Like, for example, if there's a tennis match that I care about watching and I have no clue if I have the right channel for it, but I can ask my remote, hey, do I get, Djokovic, the match this afternoon? No, but if you subscribe to this free trial, or you pay $4.99 a month for the next 3 months, and you can get this channel and you can watch the match and you'll have this thing. Shoot, sign me up. But if I hadn't known any of that, then I never would have done it. And that's just one opportunity among many. It just, the revenue possibilities, Charlie, as you noted, if you have a voice and interactive layer on top of this thing, it just explodes. And then Colleen, to everything that y'all do, like I was saying, and like you were saying, then you can start to think about all sorts of additional things that you can do. So I think it's exciting. Yeah, so a pretty straightforward story, and we love to see acquisitions in the space. It's good to start with that. I'm going to move on to story number 2, which I think will be probably the one that's discussed the most out of these 4. This is from Wired. Elon Musk has fired Twitter's ethical AI team. As part of a wave of layoffs, the new CEO disbanded a group working to make Twitter's algorithms more transparent and fair. So Gonin, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to go actually in the reverse order for this. Gonin, then Charlie, and then Colleen. You know, Twitter's all in the news. Elon Musk is all in the news. People can't stop talking about this guy. He fired a bunch of people. Story goes into it. Tell us your thoughts.
Well, quite a few here. I think first removing all kind of barriers of censorship and so forth. You know, at one point you have to say, well, can you say everything? And then obviously we go into, you know, can you say fire in the theater? And there has to be some sort of limits. That's my gut feeling in all this. But going into the ethical side of AI is there's always biases in AI when we put it up, and I've seen myself working with the programmers and so forth how definitely certain things you can influence. So AI is full of all kind of biases, and I think to a certain degree you will have to put some sort of a, I don't know, framework around it. As Asimov used to say in his books, there are 3 rules that when you have in interacting with AI, and you cannot break these rules. So eventually we will have to come to some sort of frame and ruling that otherwise this thing will be totally open for actually quite a chaotic and really uncontrolled environments that we will be exposed to and probably drive us really, really crazy.
And I should have prefaced this by asking, and I'll ask all 3 of you this: Are you a Twitter user?
I'm not.
Okay, so so that's, I want to make sure we combine that the 2 things together. No, I agree. There's got to be limits to that. And Charlie, I'm going to go to you, and I'm going to ask the same question. Interesting story. Elon Musk. People can't stop talking about him. He fired these people and a bunch of others. What stood out to you?
So I am a Twitter user at Charles Cadbury. Come and say hi. When I first looked at this, the most important piece of information on that page was that it was written on Friday, the 4th of November. So I can only be certain of one thing, that this is out of date. He may have hired these people back. But what struck me is that, you know, it's obviously an attention-grabbing headline. All ethics are gone. But I'm sure there is a plan for some kind of department which is looking at this, as it's so key to building out trust in the algorithms, which is what I believe he's keen to do. In his other businesses, Elon puts things in space and allows cars to drive around. There's a huge amount of AI and understanding that he has in this realm, and possibly he'd be looking to build this up from the ground up again. I think the headline infers that ethics has gone out the window and won't come back. I don't read that. I think that there is other knowledge from outside domains that may come in and fill this void.
Well said. And Colleen, I'm going to go to you and with the same question. You know,
Okay.
what stands out to you about this piece of news about Twitter?
Okay, first I'll answer the question that you proceeded with, which was, do I use Twitter? And I do use Twitter, but mostly I've handed it over to the company and they use it for mostly business purposes. So the first thing I thought when I read that article was that the voice community should grab all these talented people and bring them over to voice, because in the voice community, we have the same problem that Twitter's defaults or prefers white faces. We prefer white voices, or our technologies tend to work better with white voices. So there's a lot that voice could learn from this A team of people that Elon Musk has fired. And then the other thing that I thought about when I was reading it was that I've moderated before, and it's so important to make people feel safe. And that's what's getting lost. When you see a headline like that, you feel as if you wouldn't be safe there, and that somebody could come after you or come after a whole group of people that you would prefer they didn't come after. And that if you're an advertiser, that's multiplied by 10 times. Advertisers really need to feel safe. So if they think that ethics are going out the window, they just can't touch it and won't touch it. And it'll really mess up Elon Musk's bottom line.
No, I think, yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think good points all the way around for me. So I've been on Twitter a long time. I just a couple of weeks ago deleted my account. It wasn't a political statement. I kind of just did it because I was sick of the service, and I'd seen some tweets that made me hit the delete key. But Project Voice is still on there. This Week in Voice is still on there. So we still have some business accounts on there. You know, the article does come across as pretty alarmist for my tastes. I agree with that also. You know, I think we're about to see what Elon Musk is made out of, and I think that there's a lot of reason for optimism about the service. You know, Colleen, I agree with what you said about safety. I would challenge that a little bit by, you know, I forget when I read it. It was about a year ago. It wasn't recently, but something talking about who has been removed from the service forcibly and who is on the service. And I have a lot of trouble getting past that a sitting, you know, a prior US president is not allowed on the service while the Shah of Iran is allowed on the service. So somebody needs to answer for that. And because one of them is like demonstrably like one of the most unsafe people on the planet. The other one just likes to run his mouth. So, you know, there's some standards somewhere in there that I think can be a compromise solution. But I think that they eluded the previous team. And I don't know, you know, I'm hopeful, you know, but I agree with you. It's not like these people are garbage. He fired a lot of talented people who I'm sure are going to land on their feet. So there's that part of it too. So I don't know. For me, it's a big old mixed bag. Any closing thoughts from the three of y'all on this?
A point of thought which occurred to me. Imagine Twitter, I don't know, in the 1930s, giving the stage to Hitler. What would happen then? You know, I mean, there has to be some sort of limits on this. I mean, obviously not everybody will get access, and sorry, you know.
Sure.
And it's you know, once deaths and you're talking life and death, and it's beyond safety, you know, this can be really harmful. I can't believe that at one point Elon Musk will not limit by some sort of rules, but something which makes sense. The impose some sort of ethical standards. It will not survive. It won't work.
Well, there's been a human trafficking that's taken place through Twitter on the back channels of that. They've had to shut some of that down. Twitter's had a lot of unsavory things happen over. I mean, it's been around a long time. People forget it. It feels like it was created like 5 years ago. No, I think it's like 10 to 15 years old. So it's got some history. But Colleen, or you or Charlie, any closing thoughts? Or should we move on?
I just think it's taken up too much airspace. There's more important things happening in the world.
Well, I deleted my personal account. And Colleen, I'll give you the last word.
And yeah, I would say that world needs an open voice network like entity to help them establish ethical standards, best practices, you know, and really think about how they could affect the future of mankind.
Well said. Perfect place to leave that. Story number 3 from the Daily Wire. Amazon's Alexa misinforms Tennesseans of polling hours on election day. So this is the first Daily Wire story we've had. It's a more conservative publication that's based, now it's based in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's interesting to see how they present this story, where essentially they ask for some basic information and they're given something totally incorrect. Charlie, I'm going to start with you, and then Colleen, and then Gonin, I'll go to you. Interesting story. You know, we've reported on things like this in the past where it's a major voice assistant or another has gotten in the news for some wrong reasons. What stood out to you about this?
It's the amount that we now trust our voice assistants to give us the right answer. So this is a newsworthy story that a question was asked of a voice assistant and the voice assistant gave the wrong answer. Now that it's, you know, it's midterms, it's heated because they were asking whether or when the polls opened. But it's, if you take a step back and realize exactly how far we've come in the world of voice, the fact that this is newsworthy is because you are now expecting to be able to ask a question to your assistant and getting a single source of truth. Now, there's this kind of get out of jail free card that these assistants can play when the subject's too hot or they don't know. Go like, oh, I don't know. Here are some results I found on the web, which at every time you hear that fallback response, you're hearing the voice assistant saying, I tell the truth. The web is full of lies. And so, but it kind of reaffirms the fact that the voice assistant's true. This is never clearer demonstrated than in my kitchen when I tell the children to put a coat on because we're going out, and they turn to Alexa and say, Alexa, what's the weather like today? And I have lost my influence over my children because Alexa is now the single source of truth. So for me, you know, I think, you know, we're entering this interesting time where, because voice gives you one answer rather than a search which gives you a list and you then curate the answer you want to listen to, we're in this world where we are now beholden to the single source of truth that these assistants are delivering to you. This is a reminder that that's a world we're walking into. It's useful to be reminded about this. But I think, I suppose that's what I took from this story. It's kind of more of a kind of thought exercise for myself. Is actually, look, this is amazing how far we've come and how much influence these assistants do have and will have on our lives moving forward.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Colleen, I'm going to ask you the same question. Interesting story here. What stood out to you?
What intrigued me was, how did it happen? Because when I first heard about it, I thought, okay, it's just some kid who just wasn't paying attention and drinking his Mountain Dew and just skitzed out somehow and did the wrong thing. But then when you actually read the answer, it's so full of information. It has all kinds of information about when the other way of going to vote have to be in. And so it feels really like it's true. It switched me from thinking it's a goofy kid to this is somebody who has a lot of good information. Why is this one piece wrong and such an important piece? How did it happen? I have no idea how they could make it feel true and it be so totally wrong. Does anybody have an answer to that?
Well, no, but not only that, but you know, I'm intrigued by the fact that, so when I curate stories for This Week in Voice, I will take a look around and see different publications and how they report the same story. And then I just end up choosing one. And so, you know, we don't have all the same publication, you know, and there's different things that go into that. Well, interestingly, this story, you know, was only reported on by the Daily Wire. Nobody else reported anything misinformation wise about polling coming out of the mainstream voice assistants at all outside of this story. And it's interesting because, you know, Tennessee, people think it's a conservative state, and it for the most part is, but it's very liberal in the cities, you know, of Nashville and Chattanooga. And then it's red, you know, in the peripheral, you know, everywhere else. And so, you know, you got this real delicate balance of the political parties in the state, which elevates the importance of this story, because Tennessee is turning into a swing state thanks to migration patterns, you know, coming out of the pandemic here in the US. So if it can happen in Tennessee, you know, it could happen anywhere, and it's very meaningful and could cause a swing one direction or another. So I'm not only intrigued by what you're saying about, you know, how could it happen, but also, like, are we just asleep? Like, is no one paying attention to this? This is something back in 2016 you would have seen a gazillion stories written about, and now you only see the one. So I'm intrigued about that as well. Gonin, I'm going to go to you because I want to get your thoughts too. Interesting story. What stood out to you?
I think it's a storm in a cup of tea. If on every bug we would have a headline, you know how many headlines we would have? I think I understand why it wasn't reported. It's not interesting, and I think it's leveraged for political reasons of this or another. And I know so many times all kind of wrong answers I am getting from Alexa or from Google Home and etc. That I'm actually certain things, okay, I know I'm going to get the right information, and other things I know I may get a mix of all kind of things, and I take it very cautiously. You're Googling something, you're going to get tons of answers, and you have to make sure that you know it's read in between the lines, see the source, etc. I just think this story was hyperinflated, and I did not get one smirk from it. That was about what it got.
So you're unmoved. Yeah, no, I halfway agree. I think where I have the problem with it is we all know, we've seen the stories about how many people Amazon has employed to prevent this exact thing from happening. You know, you can't control. If I ask Alexa, how old is Julia Roberts? Is if the end there's a variance there, there's a tolerance of wrong answerness that we're willing to accept, because maybe that's something that they're focusing on, or maybe it's not. But on the election side, you would expect a higher degree of precision, especially knowing that they've got, you know, the manpower devoted to the task. So I think that that's the troubling thing for me. The thing that elevates it from, hey, someone wrote something about Alexa, to, yeah, maybe this is worth, you know, thinking an extra step about, is, don't you have people who are supposed to be doing this? Like, you know, so that's
But you know, people will miss things, and people make mistakes, so it's a mistake. But the problem is that sometimes the politics, where's the truth? You know, you can paint it in so many ways, and eventually finding the truth is almost like extremely hard, and it gets confusing at one point, regardless of which end of this political spectrum you are. Where's what really happened there? You know, and
I mean, could there be malfeasance? Is there a way to hack into it and put in a lie? I don't know the technical side, so I wouldn't have any idea whether it was possible, but could there be malfeasance?
yeah, the
Somebody
question is,
trying to-
what is a lie? You know, and you're
Well, a
going to
lie
all
is
kinds
that
of.
the polls were closed on that day, you know. Yeah, no, I think that this does everything Amazon doesn't want to do. This opens Pandora's box for speculation and questioning, when that is the entire reason why they have so many people employed, is to shut down questioning and make this thing like a well-oiled machine. And yeah, there's always going to be, you know, we're not discussing whether we disagree with something. It was just, this isn't, hey, do you like, you know, donuts? This is there a polling place open? And so I don't know. I think we covered it. It's interesting. I don't know. It's worth noting. I think it's worth noting for what it is, and it's worth noting how little it was reported, which, you know, I think maybe that's just a sign of the decline of the importance of these ecosystems. I don't, relative to all the other
To a
options.
certain point, there have been so many fires that at the end, you know, another fire, or maybe it's
Well,
just a spark.
Yeah, there's that too. I'm going to move on to story number 4. This is the first time we've been able to talk about a smart speaker on this show, probably in the last maybe 2 seasons, outside of just a very rare story. I just thought this was kind of interesting. This is from Screen Rant. There was a couple different ones that reported on this, but I like this write-up of it the best. Devialet's ultra premium smart speaker looks like a Green Lantern lamp. Devialet has launched its first portable smart speaker, and while it boasts premium features and a unique design, it doesn't come cheap. So we haven't left the smart speaker era behind. There's still some innovation going on. This is kind of interesting. Colleen, I'm going to start with you. Charlie, go to you, and then Gonan, I'm going to give you the last word. Kind of a gimmick. I like to end these episodes with either something gimmicky or something funny or something a little bit off the beaten path. I think this fits the bill. Is there anything to take away from this? What stood out to you?
I believe that there is something to take from it, and it's not Green Lantern. It's because I work with a French company, I get a lot of exposure to luxury, fashion, and that whole world of people who like to have something just a little better than someone else's, but they want to have it subtle. And if you look at the shape of this, it's got a little interior circle of a different color, and it quietly breathes, I'm just a little bit cooler than you. And but not cooler in a nouveau riche way, but in a way of, I just have good taste. And if you look in my wine closet, it will probably show that too. So to me, it's, I don't know the technology behind it, but I think it's the French seeing that need for people to sort of have a posture of having better taste than you, and they're decorating your home with a beautiful smart speaker that's not a little piece of plastic.
I like that. Yeah, no, I think you're right on the money. And Charlie, I'm going to go to you. Interesting little thing here. You heard what Colleen said. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's obviously an object of desire, $1,000 for a Bluetooth speaker, which is great. But so yeah, Amazon's growth in Alexa is not going to be by them selling their own smart speakers. Their whole Alexa built-in strategy is exactly aimed at people simply adding the Alexa functionality into third-party products like this. So the next TV you buy, the next car you buy, the next microwave you buy, the next Bluetooth speaker you buy will have the option to have Alexa built in, and that's what's going to drive there being more voice-enabled devices than humans by 2024. It's predicted, and that's what then gives this whole kind of concept of ambient computing credence. If there's more of these devices out in the world, then you're more likely to expect there to be an assistant somewhere within earshot, so you can engage with digitally provisioned products and services in any room you go into. And I think that my kind of vision of this future is, Bradley, if I come to your house for the first time ever, I very soon would expect to walk into any of the rooms in your house and say, Alexa, what meetings do I have today? And through voice fingerprinting, she'll know it's me, and she'll say, Charlie, got me to Bradley coming right up. And that at that point, you've reached this whole idea that the digitally provisioned products and services we use to run our lives and take on the menial tasks are actually able to be delivered wherever we are, and that's the true vision of the assistant, something that's always there to help and support you.
Well said. Gonan, I'm going to give you the last word. What stood out to you about this device and this piece?
Who is buying these things? I look at the smart speakers as a true utility, a very useful. I have a bunch of them all over the house. When I work in the kitchen, it's extremely useful, from timing to any other type of information. So for me, $20 Google Home or Alexa Echoes or whatever it is good enough. So what does it give me? So I'm looking at the practicality of this thing. I'm like, I don't see it, but maybe as Colleen was implying, this is I have it, nobody else does. It's almost like, you have a watch, although everybody has a watch, but I have a Rolex, and the time will be the same time no matter what you're doing. So maybe I don't appreciate that enough. So for me, it's a waste. But I understand maybe in certain realms, this is, well, object of desire. And yes, if I have it, it's exactly like I'm having a $100,000 bottle of wine. But yeah, to me, it's a throwaway.
It's
You said
interesting.
who uses it or who would buy it? And
Yeah.
I'll tell you that it's not the ultra rich. It's the level of people who are trying to become the top of society. That's usually where you get big spending. It's people who are very aspirational in their social desires.
Apparently, I don't belong there.
It's
No, you kept saying the word functional. Forget it.
Yeah, no,
You're
that's
not
what I'm
there.
thinking.
it's interesting to reflect back on the fact, and I remember stories about this. This was in the 2016, 2017 time period. It was before Google Assistant devices really started to come out, which was more like late 2017, 2018. It was in that window where there was people writing articles about the fact that for as much as Echo devices had been selling at that point, which was quite a lot, they were selling through the roof, that the demographics of Amazon Prime and Amazon's customer base, which skews heavily educated and skews higher end socioeconomically, created a situation where the people who had Echo devices, for as much as they were selling, were mainly more well-to-do people who were more educated, and people were not okay with that. So not every article I read had the same opinion, but there was a bunch of articles at that time talking about the disparity, whether educational to children of different families that had access to it versus ones that didn't, or different byproducts of that circumstance. And it's been a while since we've had those articles are gone now. You don't see anything like that. But it's been a while since we've kind of thought in those terms of voice assistants and AI, conversational AI, being available to some people and not available to other people. And we haven't crossed that bridge yet. The way this whole thing is started, for the most part, outside of the example that I just got done talking about, is these things have been integrated into mobile devices. These things have been generally available to the public, and there has not really been a have-not scenario. That's not going to last. And this article, to me, screams that it's not going to last. You're going to have people experimenting. You're going to have different companies that say, to hell with you. This is only a higher end product, and we get the election information right. We get other stuff right, or whatever. We sound better. We have a better smart speaker, whatever it is, higher class of offering. And that will be very interesting to see when that happens. We've been fortunate in many ways that has not happened, just with the evolution that we've taken. But to me, that's what this story is about. It's kind of a glimpse into a future where that's a competitive approach, is selling to nouveau riche or some upper crust part of the stratosphere, and leaving other people out by pricing them out. So I don't know, it's interesting. I think it's eye-opening. Good way to end the show. Great comments all the way around. Look, Charlie, Colleen, Gonin, great to have all three of you be part of the show. We're grateful for you. Thanks for taking the time to share your expertise and your experience, not just with me, but the audience as well.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks
For
for
this
inviting us.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
a little party.
For This Week in Voice, Season 7, Episode 9. Thank you for listening. If you're on a podcast provider of choice, thank you for watching. If you're watching us on YouTube, until next time.